Hello, everyone. Welcome to another long overdue summer catch-up, money-filled episode of Phil and the Mic. As always, I'm your host, Darren Michael, and unfortunately, Phil is on I don't want to say a sabbatical. He's been traveling all over the place, and he's going to be reporting with us from time to time. But in his place, we brought an old friend of the show, man that I refer to as Money Marc. Money Marc, what's going on, my friend?
Yo, what's going on, Big D? D Money, Money Marc. There's a lot of money flowing around here. Hold on, I gotta. This is an athletic show, so I gotta hit my Boost Energy oxygen. Woo! All right, I'm ready. Let's go. I'm ready.
All right, now the guys are ready. Now you got your extra oxygen. Now, what was your oxygen level before the start of the show? Did you take it?
I think it was 98%, and now it's 102%. I don't even know how I got there, but I am like over 100% oxygen level.
I don't even know how it's possible, but hey, whatever the case is, man. Whatever the case is. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
And dude, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Like,
Sure.
tell us about some of your favorite teams, your favorite sports.
Yep.
Where is your area of expertise? What are you bringing that's going to draw the people to the podcast?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know Phil is huge shoes to fill, no pun intended, but I like Phil. I'm also a paisan. I'm Italian. I've got slightly more hair than Phil, but it is tapping out at street. I'm trying to catch up to him and be more like Phil, so I'll be there soon. But I am a Philadelphia area kid. I grew up in Claymont, Delaware, otherwise known as a suburb of Philadelphia, and I'm a huge sports fan. I've been a sports fan my whole life. I played Little League Baseball from when I was 6 to 14. And then I had an injury when I was 16 years old to my hip, pretty bad one. And I switched over to soccer. I played intramural soccer, county league soccer all through college. And then made another switch into golf. I've been around golf my whole life. My dad was really into it, took me up to the club all the time. And, we had a great time playing golf together and, having competition. So really a golf addict and into golf. I would say professional football is my expertise. I know a lot about professional football. I play fantasy sports. I play fantasy football. I do like to gamble. I love playing poker. I love cigars and bourbon and IPAs. So I would say, again, back to sports, football, international football, otherwise known as soccer, really follow that a lot. And, I dabble a little bit in NBA and baseball and things like that. But, if it's a sport, I watch it. I've watched axe throwing on ESPN. I've watched cornhole. Like I love games. I love yard games and sports in general. So
it's cool.
And hopefully I can fill in for Phil, in a good way and bring some.
Yeah. Oh, come on, man. There's
no teams. By the way, teams. Huge Eagles fan all the way. 100%. Philadelphia Eagles, Phillies. I watch a little bit of NBA and hockey, so I'll root for the Sixers and Flyers. We lived in Cleveland, as you know, for 7 years, and both my kids were born out there. We found our cat out there. So I have a soft spot for the Browns. I'd like to see them do well. I know it's crazy. It's kind of like rooting for the bad news Bears. They get beat up and they lose every time, but they're the underdogs. So it'd be nice to see them do something for that city. And then my wife's from Baltimore, so we have all the Baltimore teams covered: the Ravens, the Orioles. Obviously, you're a Maryland guy too. So
yep.
My perfect year would be the Eagles and the Ravens in the Super Bowl and the Orioles and the Phillies in the World Series. Like that would be just perfect because we have all the family teams covered and it would be golden.
Yeah, that would be that. You know what? I wonder what color the sky is in your dream world, because that is just something that's just never ever going to happen. I'm just putting
it happened 1983, brother.
Yeah, well, I know. I went to one of the games.
Yeah,
I was at Game 4 when I was living in Philadelphia. So no, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, good. I'm excited. I think you're going to bring a lot of good stuff to the show. Yeah. But I wanted to start off with there's so many things that I want to talk about. I mean, it's been like 2 months since we've been back on the air, and there's so many things I want to talk about. I mean, the men's basketball league. I mean, our game was canceled today because of forfeit. We were playing the top team. They forfeit probably because they saw how well I played last game. I don't know, that could be it.
See that.
But seen you shoot. Well, yeah, and you know what? It was kind of funny because the last game, I started off really hot. I literally couldn't miss a shot, and I said to my wife and my daughter at halftime, I go, this is how I used to play. Might have been 30 years ago, but this is how I used to play. And then the second half, I scored 0 points and couldn't hit. I could barely even hit the rim. So anyway, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to play a game, and that is, since Phil is not around, he's traveling throughout the world. We're going to play a game called Where the Hell is Phil? That's our game. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you some descriptions of a place that he might be.
Okay.
And let's see how many descriptions it takes for you to guess where Phil is right now.
I got to do a little more oxygen for this.
Listen, if you watch the show, you know I love to mess with Phil in these games. So, Mark, you're really gonna enjoy this. All right,
I love it.
Here it is. Hint number 1. It's the 26th largest city in the U.S. with a population of 641,903. I know that's a good hint. So take your time. Think about it.
26th largest city with 600,000.
Yep.
Oof. This is a bad guess, but I'm going to go Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas is not a bad guess. It's not correct, but it's not a bad guess. Hint number 2. The average high temperature in February is 74 degrees.
Ooh, so I was close to the climate. I was kind of down south there.
Yep. Not bad. Not bad.
I'm going to go Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Albuquerque, New Mexico is a hell of a guess. Why the hell he would be in Albuquerque, I have no idea, but that is incorrect. Question number 3. Nearby communities: Boulder City, Henderson, Spring Valley, and Paradise.
Denver, Colorado.
With an average temperature of 74 in February, no. And I did that intentionally to throw you off. That is not correct. That is not correct.
I think I know what it is.
Hint number 4. Let's see. Hint number 4. This might give it away. They have several professional teams. 2 of the names are the Aces and the Golden Knights.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas, Nevada. There it is. Only took 4.
I needed the sports. That's it. I needed the sports.
That's what got it to, yes. And congratulations to Phil. Phil was actually out there. You may not know this. He was actually out there celebrating. He was officiating the J-Lo Ben Affleck wedding ceremony.
Oh, the Benefit. Wow.
That's right. At the Chapel O Love on Flamingo Avenue in Las Vegas, right on the Strip. So that's where he is.
Yeah, there's not much Phil can't do, by the way. He is like a Renaissance man. That guy can do anything. He is
a jack of all trades. I didn't even know he was a wedding official. I had no idea, but turns out he went online and he got his certificate, and they just, his old friend J-Lo called him up and said, "Phil, we're in Vegas. We want to get married. You're our guy." And he flew right out on the private Khalees, the private Phil and the Mike jet, and there he is. So
does he still refer to her as Jenny from the block, or are they that tight?
You know, I don't know. I don't know. There's a rumor out there that when he was in high school he dated her, but I don't know. I don't want to get into it. But nice job. And listen, maybe next week we'll see where he is, and we'll see if your guesses are better. He could be
ready next time. I'm gonna study the almanac, the world almanac. And, I don't know. Have you ever seen these guys? They do this game online where you get shown a picture of a place, and you have to go on the globe and pick where it is on the globe just from a picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's these guys that do it, and they get it right every time. They're like, "Oh, this is like," and then it shows you, like, when you click on the place, it shows you how far away you were from your guess. And these guys are like, they know like all these. I don't know how they do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, but are they like?
It's called like geotagging or something like that.
Are they? Yeah, but are they famous places? It's not just like a.
No. They're just showing random like Google Earth pictures of like a place, and then these guys are like, they've studied all these pictures and all this geography, and they just click on the thing and they show, like, there's these viral videos of them doing it, and they do like 10 in a row and they get them all right. Right, meaning they're like within like 500 miles or something like that, 400 miles.
Crazy.
It's insane. Yeah. But that's going to be like Phil. Like, that's going to be like, where's Phil? Listen, it's like, we're going to geo-track where he's at.
We need to put like some kind of little tag on his leg or something. So yeah. Well, maybe next time. So let's get into it, man. Topic number 2. You know, I talked about a money-filled episode. This episode is going to center a lot around money. One of my favorite topics, something that I have none of, but I love talking about. And I wanted to start off, and I wanted to get your opinion on something to start, and that is NBA contracts. And I'm just going to go through a few of them, okay? You know, and a lot of these guys are more famous than others. The Bulls, they gave a guy named Zach LaVine 5 years, $215 million. Bradley Beal, the Wizards, 5 years, $251. Jay Morant, a stud from the Grizzlies who says that he's better than Jordan, 4 years, $226 million, which ends up being, what is that, $56.5 million a year? I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Jokic, who's a 2-time MVP, 5 years, $264 million. I mean, the money is disgusting. James Harden, Philadelphia guy now, he declined his player option for $47 million. Who the hell declines a $47 million option? And then the last one that I want to mention, and this is the one I really want you to think about, Zion Williamson. We all know Zion Williamson. He's like he's like 5'8". He weighs like 480 pounds, yet for some reason he jumps out of the gym and he's great, right? So he's a phenomenal basketball player. In 3 seasons, he's played 85 games, which is the equivalent of 1 season. And they gave him a 5-year, $231 million extension. I mean, you're talking, what is that, $46 million a year for a guy that's only played 1 full year out of 3. I mean, tell me your, I mean, do you not think this is ludicrous?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty ludicrous, the amount of money within the NBA. And, you know, I recently saw a stat about the top 10 highest paid athletes in the world, right? It was a Forbes thing. And from May 1st of 2021 to May 1st of 2022, they listed how much these folks made.
Yep.
So just to highlight, 4 of the top 10 are NBA players of all athletes of any sport in the world.
Okay.
3 are, so I'll just go through them. Messi is number 1 at 130 million.
Oh my God.
LeBron James is number 2 at 121 million a year. Ronaldo, soccer, 115 million. Neymar, soccer, 95 million. So top 4, 3 are soccer players, right? Love soccer. So, you know, I know.
Yeah.
You know, but number 5, Steph Curry, $93 million a year. Wow. Number 6, Kevin Durant is still printing money in, you know, 92 million. Federer from tennis, 91 million. Canelo Alvarez, 80 million boxing, which is crazy. Tom Brady's the only NFL player in the top 10, 84 million. And Giannis, the freaky Greeky, 81 million. So, I mean, the NBA is making just ungodly amount of money. I don't know how or why. I mean, I can see the international pull of soccer, but clearly the NBA is well ahead of the MLB and the NFL in terms of international presence, right? They're doing a lot of things in China. There's the European leagues, there's Israel leagues. Like there's a lot of basketball is really, really popular.
Yeah.
A lot more popular than people think. So it's not just a US based sport. So that the sponsorships and the money and the things that are there are just, they're worldwide. They kind of appeal to the masses. And I think that's where the NFL is trying to go, right? They're playing 1 game every year out in London. They want to play more games. I think Mexico City, didn't they do one in Mexico City?
Yeah, I think
they're seeing what the NBA is doing. They're seeing what, you know, international soccer is doing. Like, okay, we got to get part of this. I don't think the Major League Baseball is doing anything. Like they're just kind of staying in the US, and that's why none of these guys are getting.
I'm not 100% about that.
I mean, they obviously have South America and like Central America, like it's huge for baseball. Cuba, like there's
they I know they play a lot of games in Canada.
Well, that is true. The big spending Canadians, you know, they spend so much money on baseball. Like they don't like hockey at all in Canada. They just love baseball. You know,
they're all about baseball. Yeah.
They run around in the snow, you know, throwing the ball around. It's just amazing. But no, I mean, I think, you know, this is a global economy, and when you can take these sports global, you're going to be able to pay players like this, and I think that's what happens. But what I don't understand is where do the teams get the money? Because this isn't sponsorship money, right? This is, I mean, it's obviously TV rights, right? It's got to be the TV rights that they're making pay these guys. But I mean, the stadiums are kind of small, you know.
When you're talking about their salaries, I mean, these salaries are huge. I mean, granted, you know, a guy like LeBron James, you know, his salary is like 40 million and he makes another 80 in endorsements, which is crazy. But when I did some research and I looked at the four main sports. All right. So you got football, basketball, baseball, and you got hockey. Surprisingly enough, baseball, basketball, and football, their revenues are all about the same. Their revenues are all about $11 billion a year.
I would not have guessed that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? But and then you look at the fourth sport, NHL, and their revenue was 1.4 billion. So that's why those guys don't nearly make as much money, obviously, as these guys. But then when you think about, you know, hey, why are there so many NBA players that make so much money? And there's a couple reasons for that. One, their players association is so powerful that basically they say the players have to get 50% of the team revenue.
Wow.
The average teams make $300 million, over $300 million a year in revenue. So if that's the case, then they have to pay their guys $150 million. And so that's why these guys are all making so much money. And that revenue keeps going up because their TV deals are just absurdly ridiculous. You know, even baseball's average team revenue is 318 million. But when you compare the NBA to MLB and NFL, there's one major difference, and that is the size of the team. NBA's got 15 guys on their roster. Baseball's got 28. Football has, I don't even know, 40. What do they have? 45 guys on the?
I think it's like 40-ish, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. So although there's the same amount of potential revenue, you know, it's a little bit different. Obviously, the salary caps are different, but you have so many more guys to pay. That means that, you know, you can't go and spend as much. Although we have seen the NFL football quarterbacks making a truckload of money nowadays, you know, and that brings up another thought. Do you think it's right that there's certain positions in the NFL that just make so much more money than everybody else?
I 100% do. I mean, you have a certain skill level and a certain, you know, role. I mean, it's just like a company, right? The CEO is going to make more money than the CFO and more than the CMO and more than lower level people. It's just because the scope of their role is so much more critical. And you know, your quarterback is everything. It's the person that runs the entire show, that makes all the plays. I mean, look at Tom Brady. He's a perfect example. He can take ragtag nobodies and make them into superstars because he is just a strategic genius. That's true. He audibles out of plays and he makes the best out of the teammates that he has. He's the one that makes the decision on where to distribute the ball. So 1,000%, they should definitely get more money than others. I mean, obviously the line has to block and keep them safe, but the skill level involved and the amount of thinking and things like that are not as great. So, you know, I think it's well warranted in my opinion.
I mean, it's interesting when you think of, I mean, if let's say the salary cap, I don't know exactly what the salary cap is, but let's say it's about $200 million right now.
Yeah.
And if you've got a top quarterback making 50 million, I mean, you're talking about 25% of your entire salaries for your team is one guy. I mean,
it makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, just think about the top quarterbacks, right? Tom Brady, you know, Brett Favre. You got even Dan Marino, who was never really on a great team. Those guys draw the fans in. Like the quarterbacks draw the fans in. You don't see any fans wearing lineman jerseys, right? You never see a lineman, you know what I mean? Like rarely. Sometimes you do, but you know, it's all the skill players. It's running back, it's wide receiver, it's tight end, you know, it's quarterback. And, you know, you have to have somebody that can distribute that ball, that can lead the team, that can audible out of plays. Like they're almost like a partial head coach on the field because they're audibling out of things and making decisions on the fly. So
I guess
I think they're the ones that bring the money to the stadium. I think they deserve that. They deserve that portion, in my opinion.
It's interesting. It's interesting. And one other thing that I wanted to mention to you, know, nowadays, and I don't want to get into this because this has become a huge kind of, I don't want to say political argument, but equal pay, between men and women. And one example is the WNBA. All right. And NBA's revenue is 11 billion. WNBA's revenue is 60 million.
Right.
So you're talking about something really different. It's interesting because you take a guy like Taysom Hill, and we all know Taysom Hill is kind of a do-it-all guy. I personally don't think he's very good. I mean, he's okay. But he's a backup quarterback. I mean, that's kind of what he is. And the interesting thing is that he makes more money per season than all of the WNBA players combined.
Combined. Jeez.
Combined. Yeah.
Great.
And it's really interesting. And if you look at the NBA versus the WNBA, these are some really funny stats. The salary cap in the NBA versus WNBA, in the NBA, it's 81 times higher than the salary cap in the WNBA, 81 times. The highest player salary-wise, I think in 2021 was Steph Curry at about 43 million. He makes 194 times more money than the highest WNBA player, who's they max out at 221,000 a year. And actually 68 players in 2021, 68 NBA players earned more than all of the WNBA players, including such well-known superstars like Joe Harris and Evan Fournier.
Yeah, big timers.
Joe Harris. Who doesn't know who Joe Harris is? I looked him up. I still don't even know what team he's on. I have no idea who he is. But he makes more than the entire WNBA.
Isn't he running for local municipal office? I thought that was I think I saw a political sign that said "Vote for Joe Harris" right down
there. I wouldn't be surprised. Joe Harris, John Doe. They're all the same person. So
yeah, exactly.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting. So
I think.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I totally am supportive of the concept of equal pay for men and women. I think it makes total sense.
Yeah.
One exception. You can't physically pay women the money that the men are making for basketball. There's no money for you physically don't have the money to do that. It would be awesome if like LeBron makes $121 million a year with endorsements and everything. Would be awesome to pay the best. Elena Deladon is from Delaware. She's an amazing WNBA player.
Yeah.
She grew up near me, and it would be amazing to pay her. I'm not saying she's the best, but let's assume she is $120 million too. But you just said the entire revenue for the entire league is 60 million. So how do you do that? You can't. It's physically impossible. But I would think it would be again, I support it. I think it's awesome, and I would love it for that to happen. And I think equal pay for women and men. It makes more sense in a company setting. If you're doing the same job as Johnny next to you, 100% you should make the same amount of money.
100%. Yes.
But you just physically can't do it. Even if you wanted to, even if you were I want to pay you what LeBron makes, where are you getting the money? There's no money to do it. You can't do it.
If the NBA revenue is 11 billion and half of that goes to the players, and if you gave the WNBA players $5.5 billion, you're looking at a $5.44 billion loss. I can understand percentage wise, maybe that I think would be fair. But like you said, if the money's not there, the money's not there. What are you going to do?
And they're different corporate entities, aren't they? Isn't the WNBA a different corporation, so to speak, than the NBA? Are they related?
They're it's interesting because I know when Cappy Pondexter was on the show, great WNBA player and future Hall of Famer, she was telling me that she used to work out when she was in Phoenix with guys like Steve Nash. So they play in the same arena, they have access to the same facilities. I'm not sure if that means that they shower together. That might be taking it a little bit too far, but so there's definitely a relationship. I don't know what the exact relationship is. It would be interesting to find out.
Let's just say that they're the same company. Let's say that they're in the same company. This is the NBA, this is WNBA. They're owned by the same umbrella. Let's just say, let's take a company, any company, for example. If your division isn't selling very much, your company is not going to pay you the same amount than
that's right.
If the other division is selling tons more. So like I get again, the concept makes total sense, and I totally agree with equal pay and equal rights.
Yeah.
100%. But just in reality, it just, you have to be able to demonstrate the revenue. Like it's literally a financial exercise. Like, how much money's coming in?
Yeah.
How much are you producing for the company? Okay, great. Here's your piece of that pie. And that's how companies do it. Like my company, your company, nobody's company says, we're going to take all the revenue and we're going to divide it equally across all the people that are in this company. It just doesn't happen anywhere. And nor does it make sense to do that, because then where's the motivation to do better? Where's the motivation to sell more if you're in sales? Like, you don't have any. You're like, oh, Johnny over here is going to sell 4 times the amount. I'll just wait for my piece from him. And so again, it's, it's just a matter of, like, if the fans are there and the money's coming in, yeah, pay them.
Yeah.
Until then, I think the economics is going to dictate what the salaries are. Not gender. It has nothing to do with gender. It's just
that's right. That's right.
Look at the USFL that just came back, right? Those guys are getting dirt. Like, they're not getting any money. Or the XFL, they got like $10,000, like nothing, right? They're men. It's not. It has nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with the economics. And
that's all it is. You're right.
Pay money if you don't have it. It's very simple.
Right. You're right. And you know what? And you're not, you're doing it because you love the game, not because you're hoping to get rich, in that sense. I mean, these guys are, they're playing in the XFL or the USFL, for one of 2 reasons. Either they just love the game and they want to play, or they're trying to get back into the NFL.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. So, you do what you got to do to play. But, one more thing that I want to mention about the NFL, since we're talking about money, is, who Chase Daniel is, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, one of the greatest backup quarterbacks of all time. Miraculously, he's played 13 seasons. He started 5 games, and he is the number 41 highest earning quarterback of all time. Just putting it out there. He's made 62. I'm sorry, 62, and he's made $41 million and started 5 games. I'm just putting it out there because
that's amazing.
Talking about a guy. Listen, I mean, I don't care what you say.
How many games did he play in? I know he started 5, but how many did he play
in? I don't know. I don't think he hasn't played in a ton. Let's just put it that way. I mean, there's, he's one of those quarterbacks where you're like, oh my God, this guy's still in the NFL.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, good for him. Think about it, man. I mean, think about the injuries that he won't have that a lot of these other guys will have. I mean, yeah. My God, I'll hold a clipboard for $41 million too. No problem. So I thought that was interesting. I just want to pivot one more money thing that I want to talk about before we move on to another topic here is, did you watch the home run derby last night?
I caught some of it, not all of it, but I did watch some of it. It was good. It's good to see Pujols out there.
It is. It's one of those few like all-star events where it's actually fun to watch. Most of them are just like crap, and it's like, Phil and I have talked about this a lot. Most of the All-Star games are just a joke. I mean, even this one is kind of a joke when you think about it, because, I think there were, there were 14 guys that opted out of the All-Star game for whatever reason. They didn't want to play. I mean, it used to be such a big honor to play in the All-Star game. And it's kind of funny because when you think about everything in total, when you had to substitute guys in, there were 80 total guys that made the All-Star team this year. And the funny thing is that there's 840 guys that play in baseball. So basically you're saying that 10% of the league is an All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. It's a little too much to me. But anyway, I want to talk about the home run derby, because it was interesting because, Julio Rodriguez, the great rookie out of Seattle, took on Juan Soto for the final, and Juan Soto actually beat him 19-18, which was exciting. But in the end, it's kind of funny because Julio Rodriguez overall through all the rounds hit 82 home runs, and Juan Soto hit 53. Yet Juan Soto is the winner of the Derby championship. But the cool thing that I really wanted to talk about was with Rodriguez, he actually, for getting second place, he earned $750,000 for getting second place, which I didn't even realize they got a monetary.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But I thought that was interesting, especially since his salary is $700,000.
Oh my God, that's great.
So he actually doubled his salary by coming in second in the home run. which I thought was pretty cool. But I wanted to ask your opinion on Juan Soto. We know Juan Soto he's a young guy. He's one of the most exciting players in the league. The guy's always on base. His average is down this year, but his on base percentage is still really high. I think he's way above everybody else in walks. So the guy is just always on base. But the Nationals offered him a 15-year, $440 million contract. And, the thing with baseball is that they're all fully guaranteed. And he turned it down.
Wow.
I mean, how do you do that with a straight face?
I mean, why is he turning down? Does he just not want to be in? He probably doesn't want to be in Washington for that long. I don't know.
Maybe.
Did he say why?
I think he thinks he can get more money.
Yeah. Do you think he can? What is that on an annual basis? What's 50? I don't do public math very well. So what's 15? What's 440 divided by 15?
It's a lot. It's a lot. You know what? I'll do the math right now. 440 divided by
million.
Yeah, it's under 30 million.
Would that make him the highest paid player?
No, there's guys. Scherzer, I think, makes 43 million.
Okay. Yeah, the pitchers.
So, yeah,
like quarterbacks, pitchers get a ton of money too.
And they barely even play. I mean, at least the quarterbacks are in for every play. Pitchers only play every 5 days. So it's just I understand. Okay, you know what you want it. Okay, it's only $29 million a year, but it's guaranteed income for 14 years of that amount of money. So you're making $2.5 million every single month for the next 14 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
it's just the market. It's what the market's going to bear. And he clearly has an agent that thinks that's not going to be the best offer. And he's holding out for more money. And I think at some point it becomes like just a way of keeping score. It becomes an ego thing, salaries in these contracts. Like, because once you get over X, if you're over 8 figures, you're fine. Like you never have anything to worry about monetarily, right? So then from there, it just becomes an ego and a principle thing. Like, oh, so-and-so got this much, my stats are this much better, so I should get more. So I'm going to hold out. Like, I think that's how, and these agents, like, they're getting commissions. So they're the ones that are holding the players back. Like the players are, and actually this is a factual thing. They did a study on the intelligence level of the 4 major sports.
Okay.
Baseball players are the dumbest of the 4 sports.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they did these tests, and I'll find the study. I'll send it to you. They're the dumbest of any of the athletes, which I was surprised by. Like, you would think football, but football is like pretty complicated. Like, you got to kind of remember things. But baseball is the dumbest. They're the dumbest. I'm not saying they're dumb, but out of the 4 sports, they're the dumbest from an IQ standpoint. So, and that's just to say, like, I think they lean on these agents to, like, they don't know what the hell, like, they're like, whatever, like, I don't know, that sounds like a lot of money, I'll take. And the agent's like, no, we can get this much from these guys. And the player's not making that decision. I'm telling you, I think the agents make that decision, and they advise them. And, I should say it this way, they strongly influence the player's decision, because they know how to work the system and get the money that and then they get a commission off of that. So.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that's got to be the best job in the world, being like a superstar player agent.
I know, right?
Like, you got all the leverage. You're like, yeah, my guy's amazing. Like, show me everybody line up and show me your offers. And, that's got to be an incredible job. Because and think about it, outside of Drew Rosenhaus, like, you can't really name too many agents. Like, they're kind of anonymous. So they're living this like amazing life.
Yeah.
And they're rich as hell, and they're just like anonymous with it too. Like, they got privacy, and it just seems like a pretty good gig. But yeah, I mean, I think, it's just what the market's going to bear. And, like, for us, yeah, we would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But I think that's why he's holding out. I mean, it's probably his agent driving it.
Yeah. It's, the thing is, when you're talking about that kind of dollars, I mean, now you're talking about getting into a situation where only a handful of teams even want you. So now you're talking about going from the Nationals. Yeah, can afford you, right? So you're talking about a team that, the Nationals are not a good team. I mean, they traded away all their good players. We know that. and it leaves you with just a handful of teams that can actually afford to pay this guy what he wants, $35 million, $40 million. I don't know what the heck the guy wants, but you're looking at the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees. I mean, there's not a whole lot of teams. Maybe a few others will get in there, but and these teams already have incredible teams. I mean, look at the Dodgers, look at the Yankees, look at the Mets. I mean, these are basically the 3 best teams in baseball right now.
Yeah. So he probably wants to win a World Series sooner rather than later. So that's probably a big factor too. Is like
remember they won one just a couple of years ago. So I think he might have been on the team when they won a World Series. But yeah, nobody wants to play for I guess nobody wants to play for 14 years for a team that's now in rebuild mode.
Yeah, I mean, losing stinks. Nobody likes to lose.
Yeah, I mean, tell that to me. I mean,
anybody that's a competitor like you in your basketball league, like everyone hates to lose. So
yeah, it's true.
If you're a competitor, you don't want to be on a shitty team for too long. So
yeah, no, it's true. It's true. So
his nickname was? Did you know his nickname was Childish Bambino?
Really?
Yeah, Childish Bambino, not Gambino. So the rap artist Childish Gambino, his nickname is Childish Bambino.
I had no idea. That's odd.
Yeah. Everybody's got a nickname. D Money.
Yeah, that's right. G-Man. So let's move on to something and I'm glad that you're on the show today because I think this is an important topic to discuss that we never talk about golf on the show. Right. We really never do. And this is really interesting.
Tiger Woods right there, autographed Tiger Woods.
Yeah, you might want to take that down. He is just, man. I mean, he's an all-time great, probably the greatest ever. But now it's off. But we'll talk about him. I want to talk about the LIV Golf League for a little bit, and basically, there's a couple questions for you. First off, what exactly is it?
So it's a super league that is funded by the Saudi Arabians, and it's meant to make golf more exciting. And the way it's set up is, and I don't know all the rules exactly, but I have read some of them, is they actually pair golfers up into teams of 4, and they'll wear like similar uniform shirts, and they're actually playing as a team and competing as teams, but they're also competing individually. So they have some different kind of rules. Yeah, it's almost like kind of like a NASCAR, where NASCAR racers, like they're like the cars are on teams together and they help each other, but ultimately one person wins. It's a similar type kind of format. So they have prizes for the winning teams, and I think they randomly pair people up, and it's just kind of like that. And and they only have like 7 or 8 events in the year. And again, it's meant to be the best of the best super league, and it's meant to be a competitive league against the PGA. I mean, you think about it, the NFL has never had a competitive league against it. It had the XFL that folded, USFL folded, came back. Like all these leagues that try to start and go against the 800-pound gorilla, so to speak, don't make it. So this is the first that I can remember ever league that's going to try to compete with the PGA for fans and revenue. And to me, like, this is super controversial. Like, there's two schools of thought. One is these players are sellouts. They're taking all this extra money and selling out. Like, they don't have integrity, all this stuff. And the other school of thought is this is good for the game of golf because it's going to, PGA has a monopoly on golf, right? So this as an American, no one likes monopolies, right? We have antitrust laws. So you want another league to give, some competitive so that you get a better product in the end. So those are kind of the two schools of thought. And I think, Saudi Arabia as well has a lot of human rights violations and things like that. So that's another kind of political thing that's overlaid on top of it. I think it wouldn't be as controversial if that didn't exist. But, so I think it's just a hard decision for players to make. Do you stay with the PGA, stay loyal there, make the money that you're making, or do you jump over for 10x the money? You work, quote unquote, for a government that has human rights violations and treats women like crap and stuff like that. But you make a ton of money, and you hopefully challenge the status quo, and you have different rules come out of it. So I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, my favorite thing is Charles Barkley's quote on it. And I've got it here. I'm going to read it verbatim. It's fantastic.
Can you read it as Charles Barkley too?
I could try. Or I could just play the clip out loud if you want the clip.
Just read it. Just read it.
So he was on the Pat McAfee show, which, by the way, is an underrated show. He's a former punter of the NFL.
It's a good show. Yeah, it's a good show.
The show's great. So, Phil Mickelson got $200 million. Dustin Johnson got 150. Like, all these guys get huge pay. So Barkley goes, and I'll try to do an invitation. He goes, I don't judge other people. If somebody gave me $200 million, I'd kill a relative. I'm serious. They're saying Phil Mickelson got $200 million. Dustin Johnson got $150 million. For $150 million, I'd kill a relative, even one I like. So I actually didn't do an invitation there. I just read it. But Barkley's the best. I love Charles Barkley. He is just such a straight shooter. Like, he's just such a great guy. He's one of my favorite athletes and really people. He's just an amazing person too. But he's right. I mean, he's right. This is, this money is life-changing. And, people are like, well, Phil's got $50 million. He doesn't need 200. Well, you know what? Think about it this way. He's making money for generations to come so that his entire lineage doesn't have to worry about money. And this money he can put to good use. He can send it to, like, you look at Bill Gates, he's got billions and billions of dollars. He has the Gates Foundation, right? Controversial in terms of what he does, but Warren Buffett the same way. Like, they get their money and they deploy it in charitable ways. So this is another way that you could potentially take money from a bad government and turn it into a good purpose. Like, you could make a charity, a foundation out of it, and turn the money into, something that's good. So, I have mixed feelings. I mean, I don't like the human rights violations and the things Saudi Arabia is accused of in some ways. But if I had to, gun to my head, I would say I'm okay with these guys going to Live and taking this money with the hopes that they do something really positive with it, because they're already multi-millionaires. And because I like the fact that it puts pressure on the PGA to put a better product out there. Like, they need to change, and they've been changing, but they're so slow to change. I mean, so slow.
No, you're right.
Offers so old, and some of them make no sense. Yeah. And now they've made some changes recently in the rules that really helped with pace of play, and you can leave the pin in when you putt. You don't have to take it out. It used to be if you left the pin in the hole and you putt and you hit the pin, it's a 2-stroke penalty. It's just so stupid. Like, why? Who cares? So they finally changed the rule like a couple of years ago that you can leave the pin in and hit the pin or whatever. Yeah. So that's a positive thing. But I think this live golf league is going to really put more pressure on them to accelerate more change, which I think is good for the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, and from what I'm hearing, there's more guys that are gonna go over too. This is not ending anytime soon. And from what I've seen, even the payouts for the winners are just through the roof. I mean, they're so high.
These are signing bonuses that we're talking about. These are just signing bonuses.
It's crazy to think about.
Like, if they win, they get the So
it's unbelievable to think about. Let me ask you a question. So we just finished the British Open.
Yep.
Who's Cameron Smith? I mean, I'm not a huge golf fan, obviously, but I do follow, the bigger tournaments, and I know all the bigger players, but I have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah, he's from Australia. He's actually, the last year or 2 years, maybe a little bit more, he's played really, really well. He's got a lot of top 10 finishes.
Oh, does he?
He didn't come out of nowhere. He's been playing really well. If you get into a golf pool, he's always one of the top 10 A players that you pick from.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, golf pools they usually give you 10 A players to pick. You pick 2, and then all the rest is Bs, and you pick 2 of them. He's always in the top 10, at least the last year or 2. So he's legit. Like, he's a really good golfer, and I just think it's hilarious. Like, he went from like this clean cut, clean shaven guy to having a mullet and like a scraggly mustache and like all sorts of stuff. Like, he's almost unrecognizable, but he's apparently he's a good dude too. So, but it's good to see him win. My favorite golfer is Victor Hoblin. Like, I think that guy is going to be.
I don't even know who that guy is. Never even heard of that guy.
He went to Oklahoma State. He's from Norway. He apparently is a great guy too. Like, fun to be around. That's what they say. And he's only 24 years old, and he's had a number of top 10s. He just finished, I think, 3rd in the British Open. I mean, I think that guy is going to be kind of the next big golfer. Like, he's going to level up to the next level. And I think he'll be like a Dustin Johnson or a Rory or any of those guys. So he's currently my favorite golfer. You know, I think Rory's pretty good too. I like Rory, but you know, it'll be interesting. There are some really good young guys coming up, so I think it'll be good.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the one golfer that everybody in the world knows, and that is the man himself, who's named after an animal, Tiger Woods. You know, we all know that
Eldrick.
We all know that he's had some issues in the past. I mean, literally, when he was married, his wife might be arguably one of the most beautiful women on the planet. You know, and he had some issues, and I think part of that might have been the fact that he never really had a childhood. You know, I mean, he was always playing golf, and you know, and then he got married right away, and you know, yeah, I don't know, but anyway, you know, so you just tell me what's going on with this guy. He went from, I mean, just destroying the competition to the point now where he didn't even make the cut this weekend. He didn't play good golf.
Well, I mean, the most recent year or two is you can't really count, because he got in that car accident and he broke his leg and shattered it. He shattered his right leg to the point where they were deciding whether they needed to amputate it or not.
Jesus.
So it was a very, very serious injury, and he took a long time to come back from that. He's still dealing with pain on it. And, you know, in golf, you can't take a cart. If you're a professional, you have to walk 18 holes. And hilly, it's hard to do. So, you know, the fact that he's playing at all, to me, is amazing. Like, he started the Masters like not less than a year after that accident, and everybody's like, oh my God, this is incredible. So just to be playing, I think, is unreal. Plus, he's also had a lot of like a history of back injuries. Like, you know, he played and won the U.S. Open on a broken leg. You know, his leg he had like a stress fracture, and he won the U.S. Open. So I think this is just purely injury related, and I think as he can continue to rehabilitate his leg, if it comes back, I think his game will come back. I mean, he is, without question, the greatest golfer that ever lived. I mean, people say Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and some of these other guys, but you know, you just can't really argue with, you know, how great he was. I mean, he won the Tiger Slam, which was held 4 majors at the same time. No one's ever done that. You know, granted, Jack has more majors. I think he has 18 and Tiger has 14 or something. But I still think, you know, when you net it all out, Tiger is the greatest golfer that ever lived, and the greatest golfer for the game of golf.
Yeah.
He made it so much more popular, so much more for the people, you know, broader appeal. And golf right now is more popular than ever. Like, the pandemic actually helped golf, because you're outside, you stay 6 feet away from people, so you could play golf during the pandemic. And, you know, they took the rakes away, so you didn't touch anything, and they had modified cups and stuff. But golf has never been more popular. You know, I was talking to a pro, you know, at a club locally, and he was saying, I've never been busier in my life. There's so much good things going on with golf, and, you know, it's been great. So yeah, so I think, you know, and I think you nailed it. I mean, he never had a childhood, right? And you look at these child stars, right? They're so messed up. You know, Dana Plato from, you know, Different Strokes, like, you know, drugs, and the Brady Bunch kids, like, you know, porn stars, and like just all kinds of problems. You can't grow up in the spotlight and with fame and be quote unquote normal usually.
It's tough.
So,
yeah.
Lindsay Lohan's another great example. Like, she's really kind of messed up for a while, and I think Tiger falls into that category. Like, ever since he was on the Mike Douglas show, which is like the equivalent of Oprah, like back in when he was 2 years old. So
yeah, I remember that.
He's just been in the spotlight forever, and, you know, that obviously messed him up, and he made really bad decisions, you know, with his personal life, and, you know, it seems like he's past that. But I'd love to see him bounce back and do well, you know.
Yeah, but do you honestly think that? I mean, listen, he's never going to be. I don't think he's ever going to be who he was. But do you ever think that he can one day become one of the top golfers again? I mean, I
think it's a coin flip, because he's overcome so many injuries and so many other adversities and done well. But at some point, your body, like the amount of torque that he generates in his body, like, screwed up his back. He had that back fusion, like spinal fusion.
Yep.
Now the leg break and stuff like he's just compounding these injuries. And what we know with athletes is injuries derail their careers. You know, they definitely slow them down. They definitely derail them. And you can see, as an Eagles fan, Carson Wentz was amazing in 2017. He tore his ACL. He was never the same player, never. And he kept getting these little injuries because of his favorite. So there's tons of examples where, I'm not saying Carson Wentz is no Tiger Woods. Obviously, he is not the Tiger Woods of football in any way. So I'm not saying that, but it's just an example where a player can be doing exceptional and the injury really sets them back. So I give it a 50-50. I'm not going to bet against Tiger though. So if I had to lean off the fence, I'd say he does get back into like top 20, top 30.
I mean, because he definitely needs to, because I saw, I think his net worth is just under $1 billion. So if he wants to be a billionaire, man, he's got to pick up the pace a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, he can't let that Kardashian girl be in front of him. Like that's got to be hurting his ego.
It's got to be it's got to be neck and neck right now, So
I think Rihanna just became a billionaire at 34 years old.
They're all billionaires now. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Yeah, I'm trying to think of when I'm going to become a billionaire. Oh, that's right, never. Count
it in pesos. You'll be a billionaire before you know it.
I am definitely a billionaire when you're going in pesos.
Just determine your currency. You'll be good.
Oh my God! Something else interesting happened the other day that I'm still kind of in disbelief. I mean, I'm an IU Hoosiers fan, always been. So I'm a Big Ten guy for forever. And I heard a couple of weeks ago USC and UCLA are joining the Big Ten, and I'm like, all right. The conferences used to be just regionally based, right? And that was probably because of transportation. Instead of flying all over the place, you just take buses to all these different places close by. Then the Big Ten branches out to, they branch out all the way to the East Coast and they pick up Rutgers. I still can't figure out why that happened.
That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
So most of the Big Ten is in the middle of the country. Then you got the outliers, like you got Rutgers over here, you got Maryland. And then on the other side, now you've got USC and UCLA. What the hell is going? This makes no sense. I don't understand. It's frustrating. To me, it's frustrating. What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm frustrated just because they call it the Big Ten. There's not just 10 teams anymore. Like you can't call it the Big Ten if you got 16 teams. And they're like some of the articles that I've been reading, I don't really know why these teams are doing it, but some of the articles that I've been reading say that at the end, there's probably going to be 2 super conferences. There's going to be the SEC, which is always a powerhouse, and they might add a team or two. And then there's going to be everybody else in one conference. But obviously that's not going to happen, but it just doesn't make a ton of sense. I did see a funny meme about USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten. It was Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie dressed up in like overalls, hold like farmers pitchforks and stuff. And like, the first day of UCLA and USC in the Big Ten, they're just like, the Cali girls with the farmer stuff. It's hilarious.
That's hysterical. That's good though. That's true. It's so strange. But then, you think about some of the other comments, and you mentioned the SEC. I mean, the SEC, they're the top conference. And then what are they going to do in 2025? Texas and Oklahoma are supposed to join them.
Yeah.
Like, and the funny thing is when, they do this thing every year where they actually put a value on all of the college football programs, right? And Texas is always the highest one. Their value, I think last time was like $850 million for their football program. And a lot of that is because they have their own network, the Longhorn network. I think I get it on my cable, which I don't even know why, but so it's almost like, are they really doing it for money, or is it just because, when you think of the Pac-10 or Pac-12 or whatever the hell it's called now, it's just a crappy conference. I mean, it's just known as a second-rate conference. So you got 2 teams that have the chance to join one of the big conferences. Same with the Big 12. Like the Big 12 is not, they've got some good teams, but they're not the SEC. They're not the Big 10. So, I guess I can't blame them. And then you look at the Big 12 and they're saying, okay, well, if we're going to lose Texas and Oklahoma, we're going to pick up these other powerhouses that actually become good football programs. BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and this one makes no sense to me, but University of Central Florida. So they're actually going to pick up some really good teams, which honestly, when you think about it, I think that's going to help because you're bringing in some better competition. Granted, you've got 2 of your better schools that are leaving, although Texas hasn't been really good for a long time. But you're bringing in some quality teams there. So I don't think you're really losing anything, but I understand why they're all leaving. But to me, it's just frustrating that now you've got these, like you said, I mean, you pretty much, I understand what you're saying, but now you're pretty much have it where it's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten. Those are the two big conferences. And then you got all these little conferences.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, the rest of them are.
Well, I mean, it took me 3 years to get used to the Brewers going to the National League when they moved. Like, it's like this change, you know, nobody likes change. Everybody's change adverse. And there's traditions too that get broken up. Like, there's a lot of college football traditions that get broken up with some of these moves. So I think that's why people get, like you and me and others, get upset with it, because you're kind of breaking some traditions that people like.
Yeah.
And you're changing the you know, it just seemed like I said, the Brewers, it was so weird having them go from American to National League. It just seems so odd for them. Yeah. And it's like I said, 3 years to finally accept that they're in the National League. But I just think there's more and more of this is going to happen, you know, as it's all about follow the money, right? It's just like, what's going to put the school in the best place to make the most money on their programs. That's why they're making the decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they're trying to keep some integrity around, you know, some of these, like, you know, rivalry games and things like that. Like, I'm sure USC is still going to play Notre Dame every year, like, you know, or not every year, but like, you know, frequently, and, you know, these other rivalry games that are out there. Like, I think that's one of the best things about college football, you know, is the backyard brawl, right? Like Pittsburgh, West Virginia, like just all these great traditional, you know, yearly bouts. Like, I don't think the league changes is going to mess with that too much. Hopefully it doesn't. If it does, that's going to be even worse. But I think you got it. I think you nailed it. I think it's Big Ten, SEC, and everybody else. Like that's what it's really shaping up to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's just change. You don't really like change because you're used to things being a certain way where people are. But I think over time it'll kind of work its way out, and I think we'll be okay with it as long as the tradition's going.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I'm still waiting for Notre Dame to join a conference for football.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
They're just independent. And it's funny, every time I think about Notre Dame, I think of their incredible history. I have to remind myself how tiny that school is. You know, it's like the size of a high school. It's the funniest thing.
It's really small.
Yeah. So
names that kept come out of Notre Dame, and some like Joe Montana, and like, I mean, you could just rattle off like best NFL players of all time.
Oh yeah, they you know, they breed tight ends there.
Yeah.
And some of the big offensive linemen, that's kind of been their forte now, but they, you know, they're not the same team as they were. And granted, they usually have a great season every year, and then they just don't do well when it comes to, you know, they play in a big bowl game and they get blown out, but you know, it is what it is. But let me ask you a question. Can you tell me where you were on Bobby Bonilla Day? I know it's a big day. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, it's like my mom will say, oh, I know exactly where I was when Kennedy got shot. You know, like, oh, I was in class. I was, you know, where were you on Bobby Bonilla Day 2022?
I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on the sofa on my phone, reading a post from my friend about Bobby Bonilla Day. And he was wishing everyone a happy Bobby Bonilla Day. So
happy Bobby Bonilla Day. That's right. That's exactly right. You know,
I got up and I celebrated by getting a drink of water from the fridge. That was my celebration.
That was how you celebrated. I you know, Bobby Bonilla Day is always one of my favorite days of the year, from 2011 to 2035. You know, the Mets back in 2000, the Mets, they didn't want to buy out his contract for $5.9 million. So instead they said, how about if we pay you $1.19 million a year for the next 25 years at 8% interest? And you know what the reason for that is? Bernie Madoff told them that they could make a bigger return. I mean, they would have made a little bit of money, but in the end,
I think that's insane. Yeah,
it's the funniest thing that I've ever heard of. But I love Bobby. It reminds me of actually my favorite Bobby Bonilla story. And you know, it was when he was playing, and oh no, forget it. That's Kevin Mitchell. I get those two guys confused. I'll have to tell that another day. I don't have a Bobby Bonilla story, except that for a while he was a hell of a player. He was a hell of a player. You know, speaking of Phillies, because I know you're a big Phillies fan. Marc Apple. You know, he was the number one pick in 2013, and just never never amounted to much with the Astros. He ended up getting traded, and then he actually was out of baseball for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then he decided he's gonna throw a little bit, and he found that he was actually able to throw harder than he was before. So the Phillies signed him, and he starts playing in the minors. Next thing you know, he's 5-0 with an ERA under 2, and they call him up. So he is the oldest number 1 overall pick to debut. I mean, granted, I think the only major league number 1 pick that did not make the majors was Brian Taylor, if you remember that guy from the Yankees way back when in the early 90s. But he finally made his major league debut at 30 years, 349 days. And he's pitched 4 games, 7 innings pitched, 1.29 ERA, man. You got to love that story, especially being a Phillies fan.
Yeah, I love underdog stories like that. I mean, he wasn't an underdog because he was the number 1 pick, but then he was.
Yeah,
He couldn't really make it out. And, for him to kind of figure it out and find his stuff and come up and, do well. I mean, I think baseball is one of those sports where it has and it's kind of surprising. It has like the longest tail or longest period of time to get from the minors to being in the big leagues, right? Like there really isn't an NFL minor league, right? There isn't a basketball minor league. I mean, there are D leagues, whatever, but like not as prominent as baseball. And it takes forever for them to make it into the big leagues. And I'm just shocked by that. You thinking about number 1 pick in the NFL, they're like starting the next year that they got picked or the year after that. If they're a quarterback, they might sit behind somebody and they're making an instant impact.
Yeah.
It's just shocking that baseball players can't do that. Like I always wonder why. And I think I haven't done any studies on this, but I would love to look at the number 1 draft picks of all the 4 leagues and see how their number 1 picks did. And I think baseball would be the worst. Like I think there's so many number 1 picks that don't pan out. Phillies had, what is it, Mickey Montauk or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he was the number 1 pick. I can't remember.
Yeah, he was. I still don't know why, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just weird that you don't have these dominant baseball players anymore. It's just they're all kind of generic, guys you never heard of from college. And to me, I think if I was the MLB, I would try to invest in college baseball and try to get more college baseball, like college basketball, like college football. Like college baseball needs to be up there in those ranks with people in terms of fandom because it just isn't. Like no one watches college baseball. So I think it doesn't get that attention. And, I think if it got more of that attention, more of these guys would be known and might do well faster. But I think it's interesting. I love the story. It's, especially Philly, right? You got Rocky, you got all the underdog stories.
Yeah.
It's a great underdog story for sure. I was hoping Kyle Schwarber would win the home run derby, but he got eked out by Pujols by 1 home run, I think.
Yeah, that was a feel good story.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So so that was really, really cool, man. I love to see that. Couple things that I just wanted to kind of talk about with you, just things that I want to mention. Broncos were sold this summer to Rob Walton of the famous Walton TV show, right? The Waltons, right? Isn't that what he's famous for?
Hey, John Boy.
That's right, John Boy Walton.
John Boy Walton.
I think the franchise was, the value on it was like 3.7 billion, I want to say, and I think he paid 4.65 billion.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a record for a North American franchise.
And it's the Broncos. It's the Broncos too, put a good team out there and see what really happens. But congratulations to him because, these Walton people, they don't know what to do with their money because, there's just, I think half of the billionaires in the world are just related to the Walton family. These guys, they just, they just print it.
Well, do you think now all the Walmarts are going to have John Elway jerseys in the front of the store?
I wouldn't be surprised, right? When is John Elway going to be the Walmart spokesperson?
Like immediately.
I know, right? Yeah. Throw Peyton Manning in there. I'm sure we got a few other Denver Broncos.
Besides John Elway, who would you say is the greatest Denver Bronco of all time?
I think it's John Elway.
I said besides John Elway.
Oh, besides him?
Yes, because he's a clear answer. He's an easy answer. Like besides him, because you got Steve Watson, right, the wide receiver.
Steve Watson was fine. I wouldn't call him great.
You got Davis. Who was the running back?
Terrell Davis.
Terrell Davis.
He barely played though. Yeah, I mean he's in the Hall of Fame.
But it's hard. Like it's hard to pick another one.
I couldn't even tell you who it is. Matter of fact, I couldn't even name for you. I can. I can name two of their other quarterbacks, Steve DeBerg and Craig Morton, and they had Manning for 2 seasons, right?
Yep, Peyton Manning.
I don't know.
You know who I loved on that team from back in the day? Steve Atwater, safety.
Steve Atwater was great. He's a Hall of Famer too.
Oh my God, he could put some hits on people, man. I love seeing that guy play. He played all out.
He was great. You know who's another guy? I don't know if you know this guy. Do you know Randy Granisher?
No.
He played for them in the late 70s, early 80s. He was an animal too, big time animal. He might be the best Broncos player, but that's one of those franchises that, I would love for somebody to tell me who the next best Bronco player is, because I don't even know.
That's why I asked it, because I don't think you can, like, it's hard to name the second best player. Like they haven't produced like a ton of like unbelievable players.
Maybe
and they still paid $4.65 billion for that franchise.
Maybe what about a guy like Rod Smith? I mean, he was pretty good, right? I don't know if he was great, but he was pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't know. We could spend all day thinking about this.
Yeah.
It could be, I don't know. It could be anybody, but I thought that was interesting. So one of the things that you said in the beginning was that you're kind of a Browns fan.
I'm a Browns sympathizer.
How do you
they do well? I feel good when they do well. That's what I'm saying. I don't root for them, but like when they do well, I'm like, all right, cool. I like that. Because my kids are both born in Ohio, like in Cleveland. So like outside of Cleveland. My cat that I had for 20 years from Cleveland. Like, So I have ties to. I have literal legitimate ties. So I and again, it's the underdog thing. I love like Philly, Rocky, Mark Apple, and the Browns. Like I love the underdogs and like just seeing them.
The thing that troubles me about the Browns is that they're a good team. I mean, they have got a really, really good team on paper. And then they have a problem with Baker Mayfield, which I don't have a problem with, because I really don't think that I thought he was a stretch when he was drafted number 1 to begin with. Yeah. I think he's too inconsistent, but then they go and they give out the biggest contract in the history of football, all guaranteed, to a guy that might not even get on the field.
Yeah.
And
that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me at all.
I'm thinking from the fan base. I'm thinking, I wonder what Cleveland Browns fans think about DeShaun Watson, the guy that in a year and a half, he met with 66 therapists. Well, not that kind of therapist either. I think he needs to meet with 66 therapists, but he got sued by 25 of these 66, and there's even more pending. I mean, it's with so much baggage, I'm thinking, okay, it kind of, and it's something that Phil and I have talked about in the past, and that is, if you're in the prime of your career, it really doesn't matter what you do. People are going to want you because you're in the prime of your career. You look at a guy like Ray Rice, the reason that he didn't play after his big debacle was that he was on the back nine, way down on the back nine. And that's why, so it's an unbelievable double standard, I think, for guys that are still great. Yeah. And I have a real problem with that, so they're looking at that like, oh, well, I guess they're saying, well, you know what, he's the final piece to us getting to the Super Bowl, and our fans aren't going to care about him or what he's done if we get to the Super Bowl. I mean, do you think that that's the right way of looking at things, or strictly from a sports perspective?
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. I think there is a factor of they're in their prime, so they're willing to look the other way on certain things. But I also strongly believe that the public doesn't know everything about these stories. Like, I think there's a lot more information that the insiders in the league, insiders in the teams know that isn't public. So I feel like plays a factor that, and it looks bad because we don't know, like we think we know everything, and we think this guy like abused like 66 women or whatever in the therapy session or whatever, the massage therapy. But you know, it seems like the evidence is there if 25 of them are suing, right? So, but that said, there's also lawyers that are really good at talking people into to sue people so they can make their commission. That's and true. I'm not saying he's innocent. I don't know enough about it to even have an opinion. But I do know that, or I feel strongly that there's a lot of additional, like we only see a little bit, like the tip of the iceberg in terms of what the story is and how the media wants to spin it. Like they'll spin it a certain way based on how they want to tell the story. So I kind of look at some of those situations and I try not to judge them on the surface, because I feel like there's definitely more sides to the story. There's definitely more information that the league and the owners know that we don't know. At least I'd like to think so. And that could be a naive way of thinking, but I do think it's a factor. But I also think a lot of those owners, they just care about the money. And if they're going to get more butts and seats and make more money and potentially have a better franchise, and, you know, he didn't murder, like, you know, you think about Aaron Hernandez, like he murdered somebody. And so like they clearly went the other way on that one. This one, you know, again, I don't know all the details. If he did abuse these women, he's a piece of garbage and should never be allowed to be in the NFL. But again, there's no, like, the courts haven't decided anything yet. Like it's still like pending. So, but really, just, you should never even put yourself in those situations. Like he should be, you know, you have to be a smarter person to not even get yourself in that situation where an allegation.
Exactly right.
So, you know, so anyway, so I've got mixed feelings. I don't know the Browns ownership. I used to know them really well because they owned the company that I worked for as well back in the day, NBA. And I know that, you know, Al Lerner, who was the owner, was a really, really great man and a great humanitarian. And I know he wouldn't deal with anybody with controversial backgrounds, but he passed away. And I think Randy Lerner, his son, sold the team. So I'm not really even sure who owns it now, but yeah, I mean, there are owners that just want to make money, and they'll look the other way on things that, you know, unless they're completely clear cut, like Aaron Hernandez or, you know, other things like that. And I think the fans, like once the games start and he starts playing, and if he does well, I think they're just going to forget about it, you know?
Yeah. But you know what, it's interesting. And you know what, and as I say that, I mean, you're always going to find, like you said, you're always going to find those exceptions. When you look at baseball, right? In 2020, Trevor Bauer won the Cy Young Award playing for the Reds, right? Immediately he gets signed by the Dodgers and he's pitching well. He was accused, I want to say, of raping somebody. And I guess the case was thrown out of court. They found that that wasn't the case. It was just allegedly rough sex. And listen, we don't know. We don't know what the case is. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, just like DeShaun Watson, I guess, there's no legal case. There's no criminal, let's say, not legal, but there's no criminal case there whatsoever. Yet he's still suspended by baseball.
Yeah.
Coming off a Cy Young. And this is the same thing where, you know, where he was found that I mean, it's almost like, you know, what is he guilty in the, you know what it is? There's obviously some information that MLB knows, I guess, that we don't know.
That's what I think it is.
It's strange, you know. It's odd.
It's very, very possible that he could have had other like league violations or other poor behavior or other things that never made it to the press, you know, that never made it like. So this was just kind of like the last straw, you know, that this guy's been terrible all this time, and now this comes up. So yeah, he's gone. So I just think it's like, again, it's just, you don't always know the whole story because the press doesn't cover everything. Right. And the things they do cover, they twist sometimes to tell the story. So, and what about Ray Lewis? Like, wasn't he allegedly involved in a murder of some kind? Like, I don't know how that even worked out. I don't know that story either, or something with a limo driver or whatever. But
that was
a big deal back in the day. And now he's like a motivational speaker, and like, you know, he stayed in the NFL and like all this other stuff.
I mean, listen, you can think about guys that have gotten a reprieve. Look at Alex Rodriguez. You know, he's everywhere. Everybody loves him again, you know, and this is a guy that was suspended for an entire season. Look at Michael Irvin. Cops pulled him over. He had a crack pipe in his backyard. He was caught with a prostitute the night before the Super Bowl. I mean, you know, look at him. I mean,
Yet my boy Pete Rose still has a lifetime ban for betting on a game, and he wanted to bet for his team to win. I think that's the most absurd thing ever.
It really is, right? It really
I'm
is.
going to free Pete Rose. I'm www.freepeterose.com.
You know what? You're the idea man. I will bet you that website is already out there.
It probably does. I think he got, like, he's not the best human being. Like, he's kind of dirty, but I love the guy, man. He's just so scrappy. I was a huge fan as a kid. I collected all his baseball cards. I still have them. Got them right in the drawer, right over here. All his baseball cards. I have a book that I bought. I don't know if it's worth anything, but it says 4192 at the top when he broke the hit record on the Reds. Like, that's over there too. I got it in cellophane and stuff. And I just think he's just great. And, you know, as a gambler, I'm a gambler. If you're betting on your own team to win, like, come on, like, that is not a bet like that. There's nothing nefarious about that at all. That's now, right. If he bet on his team to lose, then yeah, because he could say, okay, you know, water boy, go out and play center field. Like, you know, but it's a totally, like, and again, once again, there's probably something else that the league has on him or that he did that isn't in the public eye, because it just doesn't make sense that he would have this lifetime ban for this long just on that one thing.
Listen, we'll never know. And, you know, maybe if he had come clean, it's like Rafael Palmeiro. You know, he stood up in Congress. I have never used steroids. Oh, what about this positive test? That's a great question. You know, and
misremembering things.
My thought for that one was, hey, you know what? Listen, I'm getting old. I'm trying to hang on. I had an injury, and one time I used steroids, and that's it. And you know what? He might have been forgiven. Yeah. But it, you know, and listen, I mean, we can talk about that all, talk about that all day long. I was talking to another guy the other day about how Bud Selig got in the Hall of Fame. I mean, how do you put in the commissioner that turned his head when all this was going around, yet you're not putting in all the guys that used the steroids? I mean, if you're going to put the ringleader in, I mean, he was, you know, running the show. Everybody in the world, it was the worst kept secret ever. Everybody in the world knew, but the revenue was through the roof. The excitement was everywhere. Nobody cared. That's the thing. So now you're saying, oh, we didn't care then, but now we care about the sanctity of the game. You know what? No, everybody was all excited about the McGuire Sosa thing. I mean, those two guys are responsible for saving the game of baseball. I don't care that Sosa is now a white guy and he bleached his skin or whatever, or that McGuire, you never seen pictures of him? You have to look at pictures. I'll have to show you. You know, or that McGuire, you know, gained 300 pounds of muscle when he was playing ball due to steroids. You know, it doesn't matter to me. You know, these guys, you know, they did what they did. But anyway, listen, we can talk about that all day long, and we probably will. I just want to throw out a couple of congratulations. One, the boss, Bruce Springsteen, finally became a grandfather. I am so excited for him. I don't like his music, but congratulations there. Congratulations.
His music is great.
And I wanted to wish good luck to Rush Limbaugh's widow, who has decided to sell their home in Palm Beach, 2.7 acre waterfront, 24,000 square foot home, on the market anywhere between 150 and 175 million dollars. And who knows, maybe one of these days Phil will be in Palm Beach working out the purchase for that. I don't know. We'll have to see on a future episode of Where the Hell is Phil to figure that out. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is happy birthday to Rachel Robinson. You know who Rachel Robinson is?
I do not.
That is Jackie Robinson's widow.
Oh.
Today, July 19th, she turns 100.
Wow. That's awesome.
Her husband died in 1972, so she has been a widow for 50 years, and she's done a lot of great things out there and kept his legacy going. So happy birthday to Rachel Robinson. I know she's a big listener of the show. We appreciate your support. And so congratulations on turning 100. I would congratulate anybody for turning 100. It's such a
that's amazing. Centurion.
But that's pretty cool. Yeah. So dude, that's all I got, man.
Great, man. This has been awesome. I appreciate the invite to fill in for Phil, and
it just sounds
look forward to figuring out where he is next time.
Yeah, it's a fun game, isn't it? You can't tell me that it's not.
I did use a lot of oxygen, so I got to hit that one more time.
Back up to 100%. I got you. But
is this, by the way, is this a performance enhancing drug for a podcaster?
Ooh, extra oxygen. You know what? I mean, you've taken multiple hits. I haven't had any oxygen.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I could be banned. I might be banned next time from podcasting.
I'm picturing you doing something else. It's very strange. Are you supposed to hold that in? Is that your?
I don't do something else. Yeah, I do oxygen. That's it.
Now, are you supposed to take a deep breath and then hold it?
I have no idea. It doesn't have instructions. It just
doesn't. It just no. I wasn't meaning any kind of illegal substance. It reminds me of when I used an inhaler before I play basketball. That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Okay, here it says 1, place mask under the nose and over the mouth. Press trigger down to activate flow. Breathe deeply through the mouth. That's it.
Wow, those are good instructions.
So you're on your own for everything else. So you do it. Yeah,
but how much oxygen are you supposed to be taking in? I mean, can you
take it?
Here's the big question, Mark. I want you to
look. It has up to 100 1-second inhalations. So I do about a 3-second inhalation, so that's probably about 33.
You got about 30. I want you to tell me, answer a question for me next time, and that is, can you overdose on oxygen?
I'm gonna look that up.
Sure, oxygen. I'm just curious. So you save that for next time, but we got to go.
I only use this for athletic endeavors like podcasting, and if I'm walking. If I'm walking somewhere like up the stairs, I might need to hit it.
Hey, listen, it is what it is.
COVID, when I had COVID, I had it on hand just in case.
Hey, you do what you got to do. But everybody, thank you for joining another great episode of Phil the Mic. Thank you to Marc for filling in. And Marc will be with us for a while now, which is great, while Phil is traveling across the country doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you enjoyed this episode, tell your neighbors. Marc's going to spread the word too. And, we've got a lot of great things going on, and Marc's excited. He's going to be helping us out. We got a lot of upcoming interviews that we need to schedule. A lot of former athletes. We are so excited for that, and really get in their minds and find out what it's like to be an athlete, because I know, like most of us out there, we've always dreamed of being a professional athlete. You grow up and you want to be a professional baseball player or basketball player or soccer superstar or whatever. And and it's just unbelievable that these guys actually made it. So excited for that. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time on the Phil and the Mic Show. Thanks, everybody.
Peace out.